You know how everyone says air travel brings out the worst in people? I never believed it, until that morning flight to Seattle. My wife, Emma, and I had checked in early. She loves the window seat. Always says it makes her feel calm. So, like always, I let her take it. We were boarding quietly when she noticed a woman, mid-40s, designer scarf, phone glued to her ear, standing in the aisle, glaring at our row. "Excuse me," the woman said, voice sharp enough to slice butter. "That's my seat." Emma blinked. "I think there's a mistake. My ticket says 14A. The woman, Karen, though I didn't know her name yet, snatched her own boarding pass and jabbed at it like it had betrayed her. "No, this is 14A. I always book the window. I need it for my anxiety." Her tone dripped entitlement. I leaned over. "Ma'am, this plane's pretty full. Maybe the flight attendant can—" Before I could finish, Karen rolled her eyes dramatically. "Of course. You people always think you can just take what you want." "You people?" I bit back my reply. Emma just smiled politely and offered, "Maybe you'd like to check with the attendant?" Karen huffed, muttering something about first-class wannabes, and stomped off toward the front. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. A few minutes later, as passengers settled in and the cabin filled with the low hum of chatter and engines, Karen returned, fuming. "They said I'm in 14B, the middle seat," she hissed, glaring at Emma like it was her fault. Then, without warning, splash! A wave of hot coffee splattered across Emma's arm and blouse. The cabin went silent. Emma gasped, wincing, coffee dripping from her sleeve. I jumped up. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Karen smirked. "Maybe next time don't steal someone's seat." I was seconds away from losing it, but Emma gripped my hand. "It's fine," she whispered, trembling. "Just don't." The flight attendants rushed over. One of them called for a supervisor. Another brought napkins and cold water. Karen started spinning her story immediately. It slipped, I swear, but no one was buying it. I looked at her, this woman who thought she was untouchable. And for the first time in years, I felt that slow burn in my chest. Not anger exactly, more like disappointment. She didn't know who I was. Not yet, but she was about to find out. The flight attendants managed to calm things down, at least on the surface. Karen sat in the middle seat beside Emma, arms crossed like a spoiled child forced to eat vegetables. The smell of burnt coffee still lingered, and Emma's damp blouse clung to her shoulder. The attendant apologized again, whispering that they'd file an incident report after landing. I nodded, keeping my tone even. "Appreciate it. We'll handle it later." Inside, though, I was boiling. For the next hour, Karen made sure the entire row shared her misery. She huffed every time Emma adjusted the air vent. She accidentally dropped her handbag on Emma's lap twice. At one point, she leaned over me to flag down the attendant, saying, "Can you move me? I can't sit next to people like this." People. That last part hit harder than it should have. I turned, meeting her eyes for the first real time. "You mean decent people?" I asked quietly. She blinked, unamused. "I mean people who think money buys manners." The irony nearly made me laugh. I looked out the window, the one Emma had rightfully earned, and took a deep breath. "You know," I said casually, "you might want to be careful assuming who people are. Life has a funny way of humbling arrogance." She snorted. "What are you, a philosopher?" "No," I said with a faint smile. "Just someone who's seen a lot of airports." Her brows furrowed, like the phrase confused her. Then turbulence hit, hard. The plane jolted, and Karen screamed, loud enough to make half the cabin turn. She grabbed Emma's arm instinctively, nails digging in. Emma stayed calm, soothing her despite everything. "It's okay," she murmured softly. "Just turbulence. It'll pass." For a second, Karen's expression cracked. Beneath the attitude, there was something raw. Fear, maybe. But the moment the plane steadied, her walls shot right back up. "You think you're so perfect," she muttered, letting go. "Playing the hero." Emma said nothing. She just looked out the window, letting silence speak louder than words. The captain announced we'd land in 20 minutes. Relief spread through the cabin, but in me something else brewed, resolve. See, I wasn't just any traveler. I was the co-owner of Skylux Aviation, a company that managed 62 private and commercial airports worldwide. I'd built my life around patience, respect, and reputation. And people like Karen? They tested all three. As we began our descent, I looked at her one more time. She was still muttering, probably rehearsing another complaint. She had no idea who she just dumped coffee on, or what awaited her when we landed. The wheels touched down with a smooth thud, and a ripple of applause moved through the cabin. I wish I could say the landing eased the tension, but Karen made sure it didn't. She jumped up the moment the seatbelt sign went off, elbowing her way into the aisle before the plane even stopped. "I need to get off first," she barked at the flight attendant. "Some of us have real lives to get to." Emma and I stayed seated, waiting for the crowd to shuffle out. My wife's blouse had dried in uneven stains of coffee, but she carried herself with quiet dignity, the kind that doesn't need an audience. I admired her for that. When it was our turn to exit, Karen was already on the jet bridge, complaining loudly into her phone. "You wouldn't believe the trash I had to sit next to. And that woman, she pretended to get burned. Can you imagine? Some people will do anything for attention." I caught Emma's eye. "You good?" She nodded, though her jaw tightened. "I'm fine. Let's just go." We followed the signs toward the main terminal. Seattle's morning light filtered through the glass walls, reflecting off polished floors. The calm after chaos, at least for me. For Karen, not so much. She was waiting near the customer service desk, arguing again. This time with the gate manager. "I want a formal complaint filed. That woman assaulted me with words and her husband threatened me." I sighed. Emma gave me a look, the kind that said, "Please don't." But some moments in life just ask for poetic timing. I stepped up beside the manager and spoke quietly. "Hi, I'm Alex Reed. I believe this is your airport manager." The man looked up, his eyes widening slightly. "Mr. Reed." "Yes, sir. Welcome back." Karen froze. "Wait, you know him?" The manager straightened. "This is Mr. Reed, ma'am. He co-owns Skylux Aviation, the company overseeing this airport's operations." Silence. Absolute glorious silence. Karen's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again, like a fish out of water. I didn't know," she stammered. "I was just upset about my seat." "About the window seat," I finished for her, calm but firm. "The one you tried to claim by burning my wife with coffee?" Her face drained of color. "It was an accident, I swear. I didn't mean—" Emma stepped forward, her voice soft but strong. "We all make mistakes. It's how we handle them that shows who we really are." Karen swallowed hard. I'll apologize, please. I didn't know who you were." I looked at her, not with anger, but with something worse for her ego. Pity. "That's the thing, Karen. You shouldn't have to know who someone is to treat them with respect." The gate area was quiet again. People were listening. I gave a small nod to the manager. "Let's make sure the report includes everything." Then I turned back to Emma. "Let's go home." As we walked away, Karen called out behind us in a weak, trembling, "I'm sorry." For the first time that day, I smiled. "I know," I said without turning around. But that wasn't the end of it. Because life, and Karen, always finds a creative encore. 2 weeks passed. I'd almost forgotten about Karen. Almost. Emma had healed. The coffee burns were minor, but the memory lingered. Every now and then she'd joke, "Next time, we're booking the aisle," and I'd laugh, though a part of me still replayed that day in my head. Then fate, or Karen, maybe both, decided to add its twist. We were scheduled for a flight to Chicago. I had a meeting with a regional airport board, one of the many under my company's management. Emma tagged along, calling it our work date getaway. Boarding was smooth, quiet, until I heard that voice. "You've got to be kidding me," Emma whispered. Karen, again. Different outfit, same energy. She was arguing with a crew member about her seat, being too close to the restroom. The flight attendant spotted me, relief flashing across her face. "Mr. Reed, welcome aboard." Karen froze mid-complaint. Recognition hit her like a second round of turbulence. "Oh my God." I smiled politely. "Nice to see you again, Karen." She stammered something about coincidences, then sank into her seat, ironically, a middle seat again. I wasn't about to make a scene, but karma didn't need my help this time. Halfway through the flight, a passenger across from her began coughing uncontrollably. The attendants asked if anyone would trade seats so they could assist. Before anyone could answer, Karen shot up, I'll move," grabbing her bag. The only open seat left? Right beside us. Emma and I exchanged glances, trying not to laugh. Karen sat down slowly, hands fidgeting. The silence was thick enough to cut with a butter knife. After a few minutes, she whispered, "I really am sorry. For last time." Emma looked at her, calm as ever. "It's okay. Just try being kind first next time, before assuming the worst." Karen nodded, biting her lip. Then she turned to me, nervous. "I didn't lose my job, did I?" I raised an eyebrow. "No, Karen. I don't ruin lives over spilled coffee." She exhaled in relief. "But I did make sure the airline Added a note about passenger conduct, training for staff to handle conflicts better. You inspired that. Her eyes widened. I inspired it? I said. Every action leaves a mark one way or another. For once, she didn't have a comeback. Just silence, and maybe a bit of reflection. When we landed in Chicago, she stood up, looked Emma in the eyes, and said quietly, "You deserve the window seat." Emma smiled. "Everyone deserves a little peace, Karen." As we walked off the plane, I glanced back. She was still seated, staring out the window she didn't fight for this time. Funny how the skies can humble anyone if you fly high enough to see the bigger picture. Don't forget to subscribe to Only Karens for more dramatic real-life stories. Which moment shocked you the most? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to hit like.